What's going on, everyone? My name is Mike. This is the Hardcover Comic, and I'm not a big Marvel fan. I said it. I admitted my problem. That's the first step, they say. I've never been that big of a fan of Marvel. I've tried. I like some characters. I like Moon Knight. I like Punisher. I like my Daredevil. I liked some Spider-Man runs, Superior Spider-Man, in fact. A lot of X-Men stuff, but I've never been as die-hard as a lot of people are. And I've never really felt that passion to really follow a character, follow a set of characters, the same way I have with DC anyway, or certain Image Comics titles. But I've decided to try some new things and dive into some of the newer Marvel series and runs that have been happening. I think I've picked some very fun ones to look into, and I've really enjoyed these five that I'm about to talk to the point where I may even potentially custom bind some of these series and runs if we don't see official releases for them. So I'm trying to move into the Marvel space a little bit and become a little better with my knowledge there, fill in some of the gaps, and learn some more about some of these characters. So that's what we're going to talk about today. 5 new Marvel titles I've tried that I highly recommend people try if they've been trying to get into Marvel or are just looking for something new to read in the superhero genre. I'm a person who has gravitated away from Marvel, and these titles, for the little bit of time that I was reading them, really pulled me back. Without further ado, let's talk about some of these new Marvel books I've been reading. The first book I want to talk about is Avengers by Jason Aaron. So, in general, before we get into this, I read the first volume of every title I'm going to talk about today. Some of these titles have up to 40 issues at this point. Some have a little more than that. Some are around the 20 mark. So I've read a full arc of each one and really enjoyed it to the point where I felt the need to talk about it in one of my videos on YouTube. Avengers. Jason Aaron, artwork by Ed McGuinness in this first storyline. This story was crazy. I remember hearing about this when it first was announced. They're sort of talking about this prehistoric Avengers team with Odin, an original Iron Fist, Agamotto, a bunch of other characters like that, the first Black Panther. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, interesting concept, strange. Ed McGuinness, he'll probably do a couple issues worth of art. And of course, I have to eat all my words now because I really, really enjoyed this first volume. It's essentially the Avengers taking down a bunch of Celestials. I won't give away more than that. I won't give away the details as to why Celestials are coming, who else is involved from the Marvel Universe. I really enjoyed the artwork. I think Ed McGuinness actually stepped it up quite a bit for this story arc. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with it. I think Jason Aaron gets the characters very well. He's got quite more dialogue than I expected in the title, and it's really nice to see all these characters doing different things. And while it's called Avengers and they're not necessarily the Avengers, they're all still the Avengers. It's very weird, and it works really well. I really like the cosmic aspect of it. I really like the idea that they're using Celestials, and I'll definitely keep reading this to find out more of what happens. I know there's a great arc with Moon Knight and Khonshu that comes up in, I think, 20-ish area of the issues, so I'm very excited to see what happens there. There are about 40 issues of Jason Aaron's Avengers run. Hopefully one day we see Omnis for it. The next book I want to talk about is Captain America by Ta-Nehisi Coates and Lionel Francis Yu. I did enjoy this quite a bit. It's probably my least favorite of the 5 titles I'm going to talk about today, but I really did enjoy it. We're seeing Cap deal with the aftermath of Nick Spencer's run and the entire thing that happened with Secret Empire. Captain America was, I won't spoil it, something happened in Secret Empire. We're now dealing with the ramifications of it. We're also still continuing to see things that happened in Rick Remender's run of Captain America with Sharon, Agent 13. It's a very interesting arc. So a lot of trust has been lost in Captain America, and you see him sort of dealing and struggling with that now. In this first story arc, you get to see sort of the machinations and movements of Hydra and other agents in the background, as you sort of have this. You see Nuke is involved in this story arc as well. I don't want to spoil that much. This is a relatively new series. I think it's only been a couple years since it started. I did like Yu's artwork quite a bit. It is interesting to see Captain America as sort of the idea of America struggling, especially in this day and age when things have been, things have been happening in the States. People are not seeing eye to eye. It's been a slightly divided country as of late. And it's interesting to see that sort of played out through the character of Captain America within this story. I really did enjoy it. I'll continue reading it. It was the reason I didn't like it as much as the other titles is because it wasn't very wordy. It felt like a very quick read, and it felt like while the story was progressing, there wasn't as much happening as some of the other titles that I read during my little Marvel stint here. But I really did like it, and I'll continue to read it. I loved Coates' run on Black Panther, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with the Sentinel of Liberty. Next up, Guardians of the Galaxy by Al Ewing and Juan Cabal. Guardians of the Galaxy is a great team. One of my favorite teams, one of my favorite set of characters in the Marvel Universe. And clearly the one problem I had when I jumped into this run is I didn't read sort of the stuff that happened beforehand, because there clearly a lot has happened since Dan Abnett had written Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, that was almost 2 decades ago, at least a decade ago. Of course, Brian Michael Bendis did some stuff with the team, but there's a lot of crazy stuff that has clearly changed with characters like Moondragon and Drax and Groot and Rocket Raccoon, Ranger Raccoon. Anyway, there's a lot happening in this title. Great artwork, great story. I'm just going to say it up front. I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. What's great about it is this first volume doesn't really feel like a huge arc. It sort of feels like it's just like an episode of a show you're tuning into with each issue. Stuff does carry on over and over again, but it doesn't necessarily feel like an arc where there's necessarily an outright threat. The team is sort of its own threat. They're dealing with their own disagreements and the problems between the two of them. Between them, not the two of them, between them all. Peter Quill's trying to do his own thing. Rocket has his own ideas. Groot's in his own world. There's a lot happening with each character here. And in the cosmic part of the Marvel Universe in general. I really, really did enjoy this. I really look forward to seeing what happens with it. Al Ewing, in general, has been a writer that has impressed me for the most part. I remember being introduced to him with Loki, Agent of Asgard. Fantastic. I didn't think I could have liked a Loki series that much, aside from Kieran Gillen's run, but Al Ewing crushed it, and since then he's been crushing it over at Marvel. So I'm looking forward to continuing this and seeing what happens in the next arc of Guardians of the Galaxy. I believe there are 12 issues out at this point. The fourth title that I decided to take a chance and read was Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer with artwork by Ryan Ottley. This was, I think, the first 5 issues, if I'm not mistaken. There are about 40 issues of Nick Spencer's run out at this point, and Ryan Ottley is a huge favorite artist of mine. I loved his work on Invincible, some of the greatest artwork in any comic ever, and his talents work perfectly for Spider-Man. When I was reading this, seeing Ryan Ottley's artwork, seeing him draw Peter Parker, MJ, Spider-Man, the various villains, it just felt right. It felt like this makes sense to me now. I understood. It's like Ryan Ottley was meant to draw Spider-Man. Very dynamic. The story's great. It's got a good amount of dialogue, really great character connections. Peter Parker cannot catch a break. The one thing I will say is, knowing what Nick Spencer did with his Captain America run, it is a bit disappointing to see certain things sort of carry over and be duplicated. I remember seeing Jeff Lemire do this when he was writing Old Man Logan at the same time as he was doing Moon Knight. You see these themes sort of carry over between the two stories, which you do sort of see with this Amazing Spider-Man story, but I do like it. I like that there are a lot of villains we're getting to see here interacting with Peter and Spider-Man. The world around him is very interesting. The Kingpin is mayor. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in the Marvel Universe at this time. It's really interesting seeing how a lot of the characters, most of the characters whose stories I've read in this video and I'm discussing in this video, they're all really anti-heroes almost at this point. They've all done something horrible and they now need to redeem themselves. It seems like no one in the Marvel Universe is really a hero. Everyone's redeeming themselves at all times in the Marvel Universe. But I really did enjoy it, and I'm going to definitely keep reading it. I like what Nick Spencer's doing with Spider-Man. It feels really good and authentic. And likewise, aside from that little thing I mentioned where he's sort of copying previous story plot lines that he's used, but the dialogue's great. I really like it. I love the jokes that he's able to put out as Spider-Man. It's great. I really like it. I do recommend checking out Amazing Spider-Man. The last book, and hands down 100% my favorite, Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky and Mark Cicchetto. Probably butchering that last name, I do apologize. Amazing. I did not expect this. Chip Zdarsky, I was used to things like Howard the Duck. He did The Fix. No, that wasn't him. Sex Criminals, that's right, Sex Criminals. So I'm used to Chip Zdarsky doing goofier titles, but man, can he write a killer Daredevil. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite Daredevil runs. A character who really needs to redeem himself. Chip Zdarsky introduces a new detective to the Daredevil comics. I really like the character as well. You do get to see Kingpin being mayor in this as well. Of course, Kingpin is a huge rogue for Daredevil. You get to see other Daredevil villains now sort of change their actions as this thing has happened to Daredevil and Matt Murdock. There is a lot happening in this first story arc. Chip Zdarsky puts Matt Murdock through the ringer, and I absolutely love it. I really, truly cannot wait to see what happens next with this. I would love to see an oversized omnibus for this one day. The artwork is spectacular. The story is great. The dialogue's brilliant. And I really cannot wait to see more. I was genuinely so thrilled and so surprised. I reached out to Matt, and I said, dude, you have to read it. I know Chip Zdarsky, we've usually seen him do lighthearted stuff, but trust me, he kills it. And he did. He does. I can't wait to read more. I hope the momentum continues and the title continues to be this good, because I adored Volume 1, and I can't recommend it enough. That's it. 5 Marvel titles that I've recently checked out. The first volume of each one, so that's 5 or 6 issues depending on the title. Really enjoyed them all. Daredevil was definitely the top pick for me. What are some other new Marvel titles that you recommend I check out? Immortal Hulk, I already know is fantastic, so I didn't bring that up. I will bring that up eventually when I'm talking about binding it. But let me know what other Marvel titles are worth checking out down in the comment section below, please, and let us know what you thought of the titles that I've chosen. Have you read them? What are your thoughts on these titles? Would you recommend them to other people? Let us know, please, down in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed the video, subscribe, hit the like button, all that jazz. If you're interested in the opportunity to win a hardcover comic for as little as $1 a month, at the end of every month we do hardcover comic giveaways on our Patreon. Omnibus, Absolutes, multiple deluxe editions, whatever it is. Pretty much every dollar we get, we give away. You do also get early access to these videos and the opportunity to win Marvel digital codes whenever we get them. And if you're interested in dust jacket designs, custom graphic covers, you're getting binds sent in, you're going to need graphic covers designed for them, hit us up at our email. We charge $10. That's it, just the 10. And we're usually pretty quick to respond. I try to be a day or two. That's all you got to give me. Thank you all very much for tuning in. This was Mike from the Hardcover Comic. Hope you all enjoyed. I know I did. Until next time, as always, you stay classy, Internet.